Thank you for tuning into the QueendomNation show where all things are royal and loyal. I am your host, Queen Chariel. Hope you had a great and productive week. As always, I hope everything worked in your favor. This week is a great week because Sunday is Father's Day. And so this week we're dedicating our show to the fathers. Um, Hoping that they all have a great week and a great Sunday, and that the mothers are stepping up for these fathers just like they did for the mothers on Mother's Day. so, with that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and dive into what we're going to talk about this week. Because since I wrote my book, Women in Entrepreneurship, How Do We Beat the Odds? I get a lot of people coming to me asking me about generational wealth and why do they need it and how is it beneficial and why is it so important and why has it become such a major topic today. But I just thought I would just give you some tidbits of information on the importance of generational wealth and why it has become such a big thing in this day and in this age and in this time. Okay, but first of all, we need to actually understand what generational wealth is. Okay, so let's talk about wealth itself. Okay, wealth is often a key factor in determining one's station or one's status in life. Okay, children that are born of wealthy parents are more likely to be successful than children that are born of parents that are not wealthy. This is not only because they have more financial resources, but it's because they have access to better education, healthcare, housing, and opportunities. Generational wealth provides a similar advantage. If one generation can harness a large amount of wealth, okay, it makes it easier for the next generation to become successful. So I hope that makes sense. Therefore, it is important for us to protect generational wealth. Because what they're saying is if we set up in this generation, for the children of our next generation, then they will have a 10 times better chance at becoming more successful because like they say they already have opportunities to better education, to better healthcare, to better housing, and to different opportunities that can better their future. Okay. So, generational wealth is a term that is often used to describe the accumulation of assets and income across multiple generations. Okay. For many families, it is the goal to sustain and protect their generational wealth for future generations. This is the wealth that they pass down through their family line from one family member to the next family member. Okay. But a lot of times there can be challenges, as you're achieving this. And there are also several strategies that can be employed to ensure that this becomes a successful process for you and your family. Okay. Generational wealth is important, guys, because it allows for the transfer of assets and money between family members. Okay. It is important because it keeps the stability of a family. Okay, because we run into hard times as a family, right? And sometimes it's not easy to go get loans and all these different things. And so if we have a little bit of money saved down through the years from the family, oftentimes when we go through these different types of trials or tribulations, that can help us out. Okay. But it's important because it keeps the stability of a family and it can ensure that the next generation has an opportunity to succeed. It is also important because it allows the preservation of a family's legacy. So let's say that your great great grandparents had some land, back in the day, and they pass it down to the daughter, and the daughter passed it down to their children, and they pass it down to their children. And so what this becomes, it becomes a legacy within the family structure because the grandparent, had this home and it was passed down from generation to generation to generation so that each person that came behind that particular generation had some type of home structure to go to because this was left into the family. And it is the preservation of a family's legacy because in so many memories, and there's so many things that happen in that home that is made to protect it for the next generation that comes behind them. Okay. However, we're gonna tell you some of the statistics of generational wealth. So 70% of wealthy families lose their wealth by the second generation. Okay. And a lot of times they may go bankrupt, or they may sell it, or something happens by the time that second generation comes in. Um, and they end up losing the generational wealth. Okay. 90% of wealthy families lose wealth by their third generation. So 70% of wealthy families lose their wealth by the second generation, and 90% of wealthy families lose their wealth by the third generation. Okay. There are often challenges to sustaining generational wealth as well. Okay, it's not an easy road. It's not an easy task. So we have to kind of understand what those challenges can be as we're creating generational wealth for our families. Okay. Wealth is, as I said, it can be a double-edged sword, guys. It can be beneficial, and sometimes, depending on how it's set up, it can be a blessing and a curse. Okay, but it can provide individuals within the families with a life of comfort and a life of security. So I kind of wish sometimes that that generational wealth was left down through my birth mom. Um, it's not that we didn't work hard for the things that we had, but what we see is that it creates a different type of dynamic when things are not left down in the family. Okay. On the other hand, it can be a burden, because some people don't want to deal with that, with the headache and the different things that come along with passing down generational wealth. I'm sorry. And to sustain generational wealth, there are challenges that need to be overcome. Okay, so one of the biggest challenges is ensuring that the family stays unified, okay, and focused on preserving the wealth. Because if the family comes divided, then it's going to be a point where they're going to want to divide up the assets, and then everything is going to be put, in a different perspective, in a different manner, and it's going to go different places. So when you're talking about generational wealth, you have to understand that you need to remain on a unified front with your family, and that you stay focused on the preservation of the wealth through the family. Okay. This can be kind of difficult, guys, because we know how people are. When the different generations start coming in, and they got different interests, and they got different motivations, and they have different intentions, of what they think that the assets in the family should be. But in order to create generational wealth, everybody has to be on some type of unified front. Okay. Too often, guys, and we see this so much, we see families break apart due to money disputes. And if we are trying to create generational wealth, that's the one thing that we cannot have. We cannot be arguing over money, where it goes, and all this and other. What we need to be doing is coming together as a family and deciding, how do we keep this money in the family and keep it flowing for generations to come. Okay. It should not be dividing the family. It should be bringing the family closer together. Okay. Um, but this can be avoided by implementing just some simple steps that will protect your family's wealth for future generations. One common approach that you can do is, you need to have a clear plan for how the money will be used and shared among each of the heirs of the family. Families can also try to keep track of the amount of the money that is coming into the family. Okay. So let's talk about generational wealth. Is it just given, or is it earned? So what we believe is that generational wealth is earned. Okay. It is the key that everyone realizes that generational wealth is something that is earned, it is not given. Okay. Here are some of the tips that I'm gonna give you, some tips that can help you understand how you protect your generational wealth, okay, within your family structure. Make sure, like I said before, that the family works together toward one common goal. Okay. This means that everyone in the family needs to be on board and creating and preserving the wealth of the family. Okay, and oftentimes, like we said, it can be difficult, especially when money come in and egos come in, pride come in, and all these different things come in, can create different dynamics of how the money will be divvied up amongst the family. But you have to please create a unified front when it comes to generational wealth, and you have to work towards one common goal. Okay, make sure that the family values are aligned with the goals of creating and sustaining generational wealth. If the family does not share the same values, guys, it's going to be difficult to maintain that wealth over time. So it's again, it's just making sure that everybody's on the same page and that everybody is working toward the same common goal. So before you decide where the money needs to go within the family, you need to decide exactly how are we going to structure this in order to ensure that this remains in our family, not just for right now and not just short term, but for long term. Okay, we really have to understand that. Make sure that there is a plan in place. I actually talked about that a little while ago. Please make sure that there's a plan in place for how the money will be used and how the money is going to be invested. Without a plan, guys, it is so going to be difficult to track where the money is going and how it is being used. So let's say if you're investing, taking the money and you're investing it in something, and everybody's supposed to get a piece of the pie once that investment goes through, then that needs to be written down, and it needs to be in a plan, and it needs to be plain, and it needs to be where everybody can understand what the outcome of that is going to be. Okay, everybody needs to always remain on the same page. Um, ensure that each generation has access to education. Okay, education is a crucial factor, guys, in determining success, and it can help break the cycle of poverty. So even though you create generational wealth and these monies and different things are passed down through the family, you want to be knowledgeable of what you guys are doing with your money. You want to be knowledgeable and be educated, so that way you can just take the money that you get, and it's not the only thing that you have. You have something to fall back on, something to back yourself up with, and something that can help bring you out of the cycle of poverty and not just dependent upon your family's money. Okay, you make some type of diversity investments. Okay, this can be done, but you can just invest in a variety of assets, some type of stocks, some type of bonds, some type of real estate, some type of commodities, so that way if anything happens to anybody, this is something that is tangible that you can sell, or if you want to, that's up to you, but something that you can make money off of continually, through the family. You see a lot of these celebrities, when they become famous, the first thing they do, a lot of them, is they go invest in other things. And the reason why they're investing in these other things, because these are other things that are going to constantly bring them revenue into their family structure. Okay, when you look at Beyonce and Jay-Z, and you look at those different things that they do, especially when it comes to their children, they're building generational wealth not only through themselves but also through their kids. And so as their kids become older, the things that they're instilled with them financially, they will continue to be with these children for the rest of their lives. Okay, so just find some type of investing that you can do to constantly bring more wealth into the family. um Also, you can create a trust or an estate plan, especially if you have an estate. Okay, a trust can help heirs that avoid probate and taxes. All right. And an estate plan can help ensure that the assets are passed down to the correct people, because you don't want your stuff passed down to the wrong people if it was meant for you. So you have to create a trust and estate plan just to ensure that everything is in the right place and where it needs to go. Okay. Make sure that the wealth continues to grow, guys. You don't want it just to be at a standstill. So like said a little while ago, you can do this by investing in assets that generate income. Like we said, whether it's real estate, whether it's stocks, whether it's bonds, whether it's commodities, just find something that constantly creates and generates revenue within the family. Okay, and you can also start a business, any of that. Like I said, it can be stocks, bonds, real estate, or you can start a business, and make sure that is just passed down through the generations. Okay, protect the wealth from threats such as lawsuits, bankruptcy, and fraud, guys. make sure that you are well protected. And this goes back to good planning and having a strong legal team to back you up of everything that you've done. Make sure it's in writing. Make sure that you've taken it to a lawyer and it is put on a legal and a binding contract. Okay. Families that can overcome these challenges will be able to sustain their generational wealth for generations to come. Okay. So just take some of these things that, I told you. I mean, you can always go back and rewind the video and watch to make sure that you're getting the most out of what we're trying to tell you as far as generational wealth is concerned. And you can pass down the family business. You can pass down the estate and do it in a tax efficient way, guys. This will often require planning, and it's going to require planning ahead and making sure that the correct and legal documents in place. Because if we want to create generational wealth and we want to pass it down to different people in our families, we have to make sure that that's in writing and that legally it says that this and this and this and this is what needs to be done with the assets. This is what needs to be done with the estate. This is what needs to be done with these properties, so that everybody knows down to a T, down to a science where everything needs to go and that nobody's being left out of the loop of what is going on. Also, you need to be proactive. The biggest key to sustaining generational wealth, guys, is to be proactive. Sustaining generational wealth is definitely possible, but it's going to require some effort on your part. Okay, one of the most important things that you can do to make sure that your estate plan is up to date and reflects your wishes is you will need to keep a record of your finances, okay? And you need to invest wisely. Make sure that whenever you invest, excuse me, yeah, my allergies are acting up, but just make sure when you investing that you're investing in something wisely that you know for a fact is going to create revenue within your family for generations to come. So please invest your money wisely, guys. If you're going to invest in any type of business or any type of stocks and bonds and real estate, just make sure you're just investing wisely, okay? Um, yeah, so that's what you need to do. So yeah. So one of the first things that, as far as moving on to generational wealth, is I'm just going to give you some different things um, of that you can do to help you build generational wealth. Okay, we talked about a few of them, and then what I want you to understand is generational wealth is so important because it gives you other choices and other options in life. Okay, it is important because you have more freedom to think and to live life the way you want to live it, and you don't have to worry about paying all these other bills and different things, whether you can afford to quit your job or not. Okay, but you should really care about passing down generational wealth to the next generation, especially if you have children and grandchildren. Okay, many people have been forced to feeling like forced to do things or work a job, and also because they need money, guys. We need money out here. So building generational wealth does not mean you have to stop your kids from experiencing hardships, because we don't want our kids to think that things are just handed to them. We want them to understand that this has been worked for, and that it needs to be protected, and that it needs to be passed down, and that we need to understand that this is what hard work does for a family. Okay, so you don't want them to know, want them to think that it comes easy, you know. But unfortunately, the default for our parents is that they work so hard and that they pass down the assets. But the scenario is unlikely, to work in a lot of cases. So that's why we, talked about the percentage before of the 70% of generational wealth doesn't make it past the second generation, and 90% of it disappears at the third. Guys, we have to make sure that when we're putting generational wealth in place, that we are ensuring that it's there for long term. We don't want the second generation family to come in and divvy up the assets, and then everything is shifted in different parts of the family and nobody is benefiting from the purpose of what it was set out for. And if it's 90% of it are disappearing in the third generation, then see, this is when the planning and all of that stuff comes in handy, because these are things that need to be passed down to the family to let them know. And these are statistics that need to be raised within the family when you're talking about setting up generational wealth, so that they can understand that it should not stop after the second generation or the third generation, that it should continue with every generation that comes within the family, so that we are constantly bringing revenue into the family, so that those that are coming behind will have a chance at something. Okay. One thing that you can do to build generational wealth is to invest in your child's education. You know, so many times people say education is not important, but to a certain extent, it really is. Because being educated can help put you in a different financial bracket behind your generational wealth. Okay, when you raise financially independent adults, it is important that you want to build lasting wealth with them, so they can understand that. You can help your kids create a path to support them by teaching them about personal finance, guys. Give your kids some type of financial education so that they can understand that money, first of all, does not grow on trees. Okay, and it's important for you to teach them at a young age how to start building generational wealth too. Okay, it starts with having open conversations, guys, with your kids about money. Okay, allow them to ask questions about where it comes from, how it's spent, why, we have to do certain things to ensure longevity within the family financially. Okay, in your household, have age appropriate conversations about money with your children. The topics need to vary, the need versus wants. Because our kids live in a world where it's always I want, but never really understanding their needs at the same time. Okay. So you need to talk to them about that. You need to talk to them about saving and giving back. So let's talk about the needs versus the want of earning money. And let's talk about the importance of saving and giving back, because we want them to understand that sometimes you can't just spend. Okay. And especially in order to create generational wealth, you have to understand what it means to save money. Okay. And then we also understand what charity is. So you teach them, their needs versus their wants. You teach them saving over spending, and you teach them how to give back a little bit to the community or different people that are in need, charities and different things like that. Okay, so that's one way to build generational wealth. And we talked about investing into the stock market before. So you can invest into many types of assets, guys. You can better understand your net worth. That means your assets minus your liabilities, okay? You may consider using like some financial tools to help you understand this part of the market. But investing in the stock market provides opportunity to build wealth passively and to protect your family from inflation. So look into those different things when you're talking about taking your money and investing it someplace. Make sure if you're investing in stocks that you know exactly the stock that you're investing in. You know what it consists of. You know what your return is going to be. You know how much money you're going to create. You know what your APR, your percentage, and all this stuff is when you're investing in stocks. Okay, understand that. I'm investing in real estate. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Real estate can be a great tool to build wealth, guys. Real estate generally appreciates with time. Okay. In addition, real estate can provide cash flow opportunities for investors as well. Okay. You guys, it may be hard to see yourself as a real estate investor, but there are less intimidating ways to get started, such as moving out of your home, renting it out, and purchasing another property. Okay. That's a strategy that so many investors have used to build real estate portfolios and create a home. Okay. So create a business to pass down, guys. Sometimes that's a great way to build generational wealth in our family. Start a business, teach people in your family how to run it, and let them pass that down from family to family. Guys, more than 30% of family owned businesses are estimated to have made it to the second generation. So, building a business to pass down to your children is another way to build generational wealth. And if the statistics are higher with doing that, many of you may want to look into that and see what it is about handling the business, because it's something tangible, something they can put their hands on, and something that they know they can do every day. Okay. Take advantage of life insurance, guys. Life insurance is a great way to pass down generational wealth. Okay. It provides a safety net for your family if you were to die unexpectedly. If you have children or dependents who rely on your income, Their financial situation will be negatively impacted by an eventual passing. Okay. Term life insurance, guys, can be an affordable option to ensure that your loved ones would be financially cared for if you were no longer able to provide for them. Losing a loved one is so difficult, guys. It's so difficult within itself. So alleviating stress for your family members by making sure that they are financially secure through a life insurance policy will help them focus on grieving. Okay. Um, so one other thing that we need to do is create an estate plan. I talked about that a little bit earlier. Um, if your parents or your family members own a home, make sure that they are creating an estate plan so that you guys as family members know what goes where and to whom. So like we talked about earlier, nobody's fighting over anything, okay? There are several steps that you can do to pass down generation wealth. I'm going to give you just a couple, and then we're going to give you our Queendom Code of the day, okay, guys? So, a will, you should have a will. And a will should provide specific instructions on your last wills and your assets, okay? Understanding the requirements in your state is very important to ensure that your will is enforceable, okay? When you have young children, communicate your wishes regarding their care. Make a list of your financial assets to make it easier for your family members to locate them. When you don't have a will, you leave the decisions up to the state when it comes to your children, your property, and your assets. And again, I told you guys to set up a trust. Make sure that you guys have a trust that is commonly referred to as a trust fund. Okay. And make sure that you understand who is the beneficiaries on these trust funds. Okay. Name account beneficiaries. Please be specific with who gets what. Okay, so that's just a few things that that I wanted to touch on because, like I said, people ask me all the time about generational wealth. How do we build it? How do we get there? What are some of the things that we can do to ensure that it's staying in the family? And so those are just some things that I ran across and I felt like could be beneficial to you guys, creating generational wealth within your family and keeping it within your family. Okay, so our Queendom quote of the day is going to be: don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you plant. Okay, again, our Queendom quote of the day is: don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you plant. So again, I hope everybody has a productive week. I hope you enjoyed the show today. I hope you understood what generational wealth means within the family. And I hope you guys will begin to practice it within your own family. Sit down and have that talk with your family members so that everybody can understand what's going to happen where if anything happens to you, okay? And let them understand, if we're starting this as generational wealth, how this needs to be passed down within family member after family member. We need to make sure that the generational wealth is passed down even after the third and the fourth and the fifth family members, so that it can stay in the family long term and also create a family legacy. Okay, please look for me. I'm Annette Numi Smith on Facebook. MINNETTENUME Smith on Facebook. I am Shariel Dye on Instagram. That's CHARIELDYE. We are the Queendom Nation Radio Show on Facebook. Please check us out. We are also Shariel Dye on YouTube, and you can see these videos on YouTube, or you can also watch them on the Queendom Nation show because we do post them daily. You can check out my website, cherieldye.com, CHARIELDYE.com, where you can buy my book, Women in Entrepreneurship, How Do We Beat the Odds. I also write blogs, so you can see blogs on there as well. I hope you guys have a productive week. Happy Father's Day. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great week.